as a series, since I love audition stories and I love how you got your stories. So if anyone likes to go first, be my guest. Or I could call on somebody. All right, Kevin.
Mine came along very interestingly. I was doing a show. First of all, I'd already been in Vancouver for like 3 years almost, because everything that I was doing was shooting there. And I had a show that Carlton Hughes helped develop, and then obviously ran, called The Returns. And there was a little bit of a bubble at the end as to whether or not we were going to go for another season. And so the timing actually kind of worked out just perfectly, because we notably got canceled. And so right after that, I had received a phone call saying there's this really interesting show that's unlike anything that we've done, or that not a lot of people have seen this style of show, called Lucifer, and they're interested in you. I think they'd already shot the pilot and already gotten picked up, and everything. So for one reason or another, something didn't work out with someone else. So we worked it out so that I could replace him. So I checked out. I saw the pilot, and the first thing I thought was, Tom Ellis. How do I know that name? And I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy who beat me for the role in Rush. Let me see this. And I watched it, and I was like, fuck yeah, man, I want to work with this dude. And then that was like initially, like from the very beginning. And then as I watched the show, I started to see like sort of like there were so many multiple layers of it, of not just your like shiny, cool, I'm a badass fucking person, but there was the breadcrumbs of honesty and real story there. So I was like very fortunate, first of all, that show went away and was able to jump onto something like this. Cool. So that's how mine came about.
Right on. Amy, how did you come on board?
I was actually doing a show called Rush Hour, which Warner Brothers was producing, that actually produces Lucifer. And right after that, I was up A Small World, Carlton Hughes and Guillermo del Toro, for a show called The Strain. And it was down to me and another girl. They're like, you just look too young. You didn't get it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, let's keep on this track of working with people like Guillermo, and he had such a good time, meeting you and all this stuff. And he's like, they're like, there's this role of a Latina scientist, but we kind of think you should stick to more like, the bigger kind of roles after working, doing Rush Hour and working with Guillermo. And I'm like, well, I really like this role. I've never seen a Latina scientist on TV, which is insane. And I think to this day, Ella remains one of only 2 Latina scientists on any show, which is mind-boggling to me. And I thought, you know what? I've never seen a professional Latina who's like a major goofball, doesn't lead with like her sexiness. She's not. She's just really smartest person in the room, completely goofy, unapologetic about who she is, a major dork. And she just happens to be Latina, and she's a girl in STEM. And I thought, you know what? My gut is just saying I want to do this role. And the show had already been on for a year, so I was able to watch the full season. And I thought everyone was just incredibly talented. And I thought, I would love to join this team. And it was great. Everyone welcomed me with open arms. And it's like being the new kid at school and not knowing where to sit. So everyone was just extremely generous, and it's just been such a fun role, and I just haven't even looked back. I've just been so grateful.
Awesome, very good. DB, how about you?
I wish mine was a little bit more exciting. It was pretty straightforward. I mean, it was just a simple audition. It happened at the end. I think they were having a hard time finding. From what I heard, Len was having a hard time. Len Wiseman, who directed the pilot, was having a hard time finding this role. And I came in at the very, very end. I just auditioned and left And the funny thing was, I think I heard like 1 or 2 days later that I had it, and they wanted to know if I could get to Fox Studios in the next 45 minutes. And at this time, I lived in the Valley. They were having a reading. So I had to grab all my stuff, jump in the car, race over there, run through the studio just in time to run into the reading as they were starting, because they had just made their decision minutes before the read-through. And then wanted me to see if I could get there, which I think every actor knows what that means. I have to drop everything and run across town to desperately try to make this reading to make sure that I can secure this part. And that was it.
Hey, as actors, we all wish we got everything our roles simply. So it may not be. You may think it's not a sunny story, but it's an envious one. Trisha, how did you come on board as the Big G?
Mine is a pretty simple story as well. Very nice.
Kitties.
It's nice that way when it's it was an offer. So I was aware of the show. I hadn't seen it yet, but I had come off of a show called Ascension, and I was reading some scripts when Lucifer was originally casting. And I was still under contract, so I couldn't do anything. But I remember reading the script and liking the script. Mom wasn't in it, of course, at that point. But when it came around a year later, and they, I don't know why they did, but they offered it to me. And so I went in and met with Ildy. And I remember actually Mike Costa, one of the writers, told me this afterwards. Of course, you're nervous when you go in. At least I am. I'm always nervous when you go in. I'm like, are they gonna like my take? Am I dressed the right way? Or whatever. And I was a little lost, and I was running a little late, and this lovely gentleman helps me. He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm looking for Lucifer. And he takes me up there. Anyway, it turns out he's one of the writers, and they had this whole joke with another writer, Chris Rafferty. He's like, I walked Trisha in and all this stuff, and here I was nervous about, am I going to make an impression? And he happened to walk me in, and they have a little tiki lounge in their office, at least they did, and they were sitting out there like, basically with their ears outside the door of Ildy and I talking. But it was just a wonderful experience to come on with these lovely group of people. And Amy and I started at the same time, so at least I had another newbie with me to join in.
Excellent. Tom, how about you?
I got a call from Joe. I got a heads up that he wanted to talk. I hadn't seen the show. I like to try to keep myself familiar with shows that come out each year. So I'd seen about 4 episodes of the first season of Lucifer. And I knew that it was a show that was smart, it was well executed, it was stylized, but also had this comedy, and you cared more about the characters, and you really cared about what they were doing as far as solving a crime. It was an easy conversation between Joe and I. Joe had seen every episode of Smallville, and he started telling me about this character. He goes, you're going to be this character, but he's actually this character, but he's in another character. And I said, stop at the second character. I don't want to know the third until we get down the road, because that, for me as an actor, would be more fun. Because I went from a character before on Smallville who really didn't know anything. And then on Lucifer, I was going to play a character who was ahead of everyone. And there's a cat.
Yeah.
Right.
So, viewers, we have a special guest on this panel. Trisha, would you care to introduce us to our new guest?
But one of the other things I did is, as excited as I was with Joe, I called a buddy of mine, Greg Beeman, who had been on the show directing, and I said, what do you think about me going on the show? And he goes, you're going to love everybody. They're all great. They're all talented, but they're also really cool. You'll get along with them, because he worked with me for like 8 years.
So he lied to you.
He totally lied to me. And I was just really happy to be invited and be a part of this family. And so thanks for letting me be here.
Absolutely. And Leslie Ann, how did you come about?
Oh, mine was a very traditional story too. Well, in the similar way to Kevin, I had been on that hamster wheel of pilot season, and in the same week, so I auditioned for Lucifer. They put a pin in me, as we say it, and then I was simultaneously going out for other shows, and I actually got an offer to test for 2 other shows, and then including Lucifer. So in 1 week, I had 3 tests.
Oh,
But Lucifer was the first show that I had auditioned for, so they had, first dibs on me, and they were kind of going back and forth. I believe the network really there was another actress who was cast, and they had worked with her before, and so they really wanted to have her, and so they released me. And I went and tested for the next show, didn't get it. Went and tested for the next show, didn't get it. So I had one of those, like, like, what is life?
Up and down weeks.
Horrible, just a horrible, like, I remember going to the 3rd test and doing my makeup with tears streaming down my face, and my husband standing behind me going, it's okay, like, you're going to be fine. And I'm like, I don't know, like, and then nothing happened. And I was like, you know what? I did my best. And 2 weeks later, I got a call. And in fact, I'd called DB because him and I had worked together on another show. And I congratulated him on his casting. And I told him that I had, auditioned for the Mazikeen role. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call saying, "Oh, so we want to reinstate your deal. It didn't work out with the other actress at the read-through." And
So DB cast you?
sorry.
So DB cast you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he said to me, he said, "I don't know. I think I have a funny feeling you might be getting a call."
Yeah. After we had that reading.
Yes, and so I just, from that experience, like, that was such a great lesson, like, this whole, because it's a life changer, obviously, and for me, I go, you never know what's going to happen in Hollywood. So I don't believe anything until I'm showing up and sitting in the chair, getting my makeup done, or standing in line for craft services. I'm like, I don't believe I got the job until I'm there. Yeah.
Well, we are all very glad that you're all are a part of this, and again, thank you. And Tom, you're quite right. It's what always appealed to me is that it's a smart show.
yeah.
And it could have been real easy to take the low hanging fruit of its premise and gone one way, but it seems like they've always, when they have the opportunity, they always aim to the fences.
Yeah.
Writing wise, dialogue, plot wise. So, our producer said we're good on questions from our audience. So I'll ask Jude, our amazing producer, to run our first one. And this comes from Saline, who wants to know, what did you think when you first read the script for Lucifer? And Amy, I'll ask you to start us off.
I thought it was really funny, kind of just to piggyback what Welling was saying. It's a crime-solving devil. Sounds so ridiculous, and it's so cheeky, and it sounds like it would never work in a million years. But somehow, it's like random ingredients that make a great meal. I thought it was very funny, and I thought it was also very smart in that it's like, wow, the devil is looking for redemption and forgiveness. So if someone like that can be forgiven, any one of us can be forgiven. So I thought it kind of hit that sweet spot of humor, heart, and just making you think, which I think is part of the reason we're here in season 6. I thought it was very funny. That was my first guy.
Absolutely. DB, how about you?
I didn't like it. Just to be honest, I can't lie. I read the script and I thought, what the fuck is this? And I'm just being really honest.
That's fine, bro.
What it was. I had no idea where it was going to go. I'm very happy I was wrong. I love the character of Amenadiel. I love the character of Lucifer, and I love the character of Maze. But so I loved the celestial characters, but I didn't understand the comedy at the time. Until the show started to really, when we got picked up, and honestly, when we started shooting the pilot and I actually got a chance to see what people were doing, then I thought, wow, this is something different. And that's when it reminded me of a small little show. I'm not sure if any of you heard of it, called Buffy. So that's actually when it started to remind me of Buffy. And then I was like, oh, I get it now. But that was my honest first reaction, and thank God I was wrong.
Trisha, how about you?
Well, when they first sent me the first episode of season 2, along with the offer, I read it, and all I do is say, "Help me" at the very end as I fall out of an elevator. I'm like, "Can you give me a little bit more to go on what this character is?" Not the script, but the character. So they gave me episode 2, which of course is was Slutty Dress on Fire or something, but which was a lot more extensive for Mom, and I loved it immediately. But similar to what Amy said, I mean, the scripts they meld so well, the humor and the smart one-liners that kind of catch you off guard because they're just hysterical, but then also with really heartfelt stories of love and redemption and pain and growth, and so I like how they weave it all together.
Excellent. How about you, Tom? Reaction the first time you got the script?
Well, I had the privilege that DB didn't have, where I could watch the show and get a sense of the tone and the comedy. All their scripts are well written, but at the same time they're brought to life by all these actors, and it's one of those shows for me where you can't picture anyone else playing the characters than the actors that they cast. I think Ellis for sure. Like, who the hell else can do that but him? And I thought that's very impressive. And to work with him, I just learned a lot. And I was like, wow, I couldn't do what he's doing. And I really like what he's doing. So I'm just going to play along with it. I got to play against a lot of it, which is fun to do as well. But, they write, great stuff. But for me, I got to sort of hear it a little bit easier when I read it than maybe someone who hadn't seen the show yet. So I was lucky.
Absolutely. Leslie, our thanks to your helper there who gave it.
My husband stole my charger from my computer from here. Last night, little shit. Sorry.
I love how like the preview is like, hon, I'm going to do this convention. I only ask one thing: no one come into the room.
Yes. So I actually did like it. I wasn't a comic book. I didn't grow up with comic books. I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa. I mean, we were just trying to survive life in the 80s, to be honest. We didn't have
You were living your own comic life.
What?
Yeah. You're living your own comic book life, like trying to fucking be superheroes and stuff.
Yeah, and so, but I did research a little bit on, the character of Mazikeen, and one image I fell in love with particular was her kissing another girl and giving the finger to a bunch of angels, like in heaven, and I was like, whoa, she's kind of like a badass and it was very progressive for obviously the time that the comic book was written in. And they were these giant graphic novels, and I always thought comic books were like Archie, with like him, and I wasn't as well versed in the world, but the pilot itself I thought was really funny. I was a huge Tom Capanos fan. I thought like the dark humor and taking like a really irredeemable character, in both religion and history, being the devil, and then finding humanity within that. Like, I think it raised a lot of questions for me, and it was very thought-provoking in where the show might be able to go. And I thought it was really funny. And I actually wrote Jeff Johns, who I knew because I'd done a guest spot on Gotham. And I was like, hey, Jeff, I just read this pilot. This is really funny. Like, I had no idea that like the devil could be this hilarious. But again, like everyone else, it wasn't until I got there and we started experimenting. And I think the show took a minute to like find its tone and to integrate the like big themes that we had and these big like characters with the humor, So I often say I feel bad for sometimes those guest actors in the first season while we were still trying to find our feet. Because to try and explain the tone of Lucifer at that time was like, well, it's not quite that, and it's not quite this.
I don't know, just go with it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the magic happens, and we kind of like find it. So, I was really happy with obviously season to season how characters have been able to progress beyond what that initial like first kind of script was, you know?
Absolutely. Well, going to Jeff Johns is never wrong if you want a comic book consultation, since he is one of the preeminent comic book writers of our time, and is now moving over to producing Stargirl and Shazam. So, good tactical choice, I think. Mm-hmm. So, Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, I think like to piggyback on what Leslie Ann was saying. I think we're still trying to find our grounds too. You know, what it's a testament to their writing, a testament to what they're doing with our show is that I think all of us collectively as actors are constantly finding new things about who we are. As by we, I mean the characters, about who we are, and I think it's it's a good testament to the writing of trying to still find our footing even on the 6th season. You know. But for me, I didn't read the script until until our table read. Because remember, I had the privilege of watching the pilot already. So I showed up to the table read.
Lieutenant Dan would do.
What's that?
I feel like that's what Dan would do.
Absolutely. I'm gonna feel this out.
Yeah.
So I did. Sitting on the table read for the first time, listening to everyone do their characters and where it's going. And one of the one nugget that really stuck out in my head was the moment that Tom said, "Detective Douche." And the only thing I could think about for the entire rest of the fucking reading was, damn it, that's going to stick. They're going to know me as Detective Douche. I know it. And lo and behold, here we are.
Was that not in the script, Detective Douche?
Yeah, but remember, I didn't read it until we got on the...
Oh, right. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, that carried on to season 3 where I mispronounced your character's name, and then you guys were like, no, keep doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Esperanza. It's Esperanza. And that stuck. That was the good one.
Yeah. Celine, thank you. That was a great question to start us off with. Jude, let's roll another one. From Lucifer, Span, Paraguay. What or who has been the inspiration of each one's interpretation of their characters? And let's start.
I can start if it makes sense. Yeah. I used one person that always came to mind as a woman who was like powerful and kind of like, you know, was her own entity and moved through the world, you know, not really caring what people thought about her, was Eartha Kitt. And I always looked at her as this like very like powerful, progressive, you know, she was like, I think, I don't want to say, but she was like the first Black actress to play like Catwoman.
Yes, that would be correct.
And so I loved her point of view in the world. But then when I got, you know, and started like dealing more with Mazikeen, the character, I was like, oh, she's just an immigrant like me. You know, she's experiencing in season 1 what I experienced when I moved from Cape Town to New Zealand, which was I left my family and everything I know behind at, you know, 18 years old, and people didn't understand my accent, and people didn't understand my humor, and people didn't understand like my point of view on some like, you know, issues, because my life was very different. And like in Hell, you know, she was kind of the same. She was like, yeah, we are here for 5 years and now it's time to go home. Like, I don't want to, you know, be around these human beings. And so a lot of the like trying to connect with people from a different cultural perspective is what I went through personally as like the actress playing her. And so I just really like drew on that. I mean, I obviously don't, you know, like torture people and rip their nails off and do that kind of stuff. But the human side of her, you know, in that she's protective and loyal, and the people that she cares about, she will fight for, and that the people that that she's always going to like come at you from like a place of like truth and like being super upfront about how she feels. Like we share very similar kind of traits in that way. So getting into her skin wasn't as hard for me.
Right.
I'm not playing a demon. I'm just playing what I know,
Sure. Absolutely. Good. Thank you for that. Kevin.
Yeah. For me, I questioned myself of like, okay, who is the most affected, somewhat damaged person who just tries to do what he can do to make things right, but always makes a decision that kind of leans a little too far left or a little too far right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I do. So I used myself. As an like, because I'm full of like, I think we all are full of our own faults and our own like decisions. And we're like, oh man, I would change it if I could. I can't, and that's one of the things that I loved most about Dan was just sort of his struggle to work through his flaws. And I really related to him because I personally am that person. I am constantly working, trying to at least acknowledge my flaws and at least trying to like learn from what I've done. You know what I'm saying? And I think Dan is the perfect example of that kind of human being. And I think they write him very well, because we're all, it's like, sure, we go through a lot of things and make some decisions, but we're in hindsight, when you're able to step back and look at your decision or whatever, to be able to go, oh, that was comical. How to do it different now. You know what I mean? And that's what I loved about him is that he does it. It's intense. It's serious. He fails or he succeeds, but really the most success comes from him being able to step back and go, whoa, I watched myself do that, but I'm okay. And I'll change it going forward. And that's what it was. Mostly all of my flaws.
Amy, how about you?
Well, it was more of a blend. I guess the initial inspo was Ellen Ochoa, who, I don't know if you guys can see, astronaut. Latina astronaut, who I'm like, God, there's not that many Latinas in STEM. So I kind of started from her. And then much to Kevin's point, I was like, God, I don't know when to stop talking. I have no filter. I'm super clumsy. I really am an idealist in the true sense of the word. Like, I just feel like we're so similar, and sometimes people all just want the same thing. They really just want to be seen and heard and loved, and that's it. Obviously we need food and water and basic things, but I think people just are so similar, so much more similar than we think, and I really wanted to kind of bring that sort of idealistic, universal humanity quality to her, because I think, I don't know, I think that sometimes the world gets so dark that you need some light. So what I really wanted to infuse into this world of, devils and demons and betrayal and unrequited love and death, right? Every single episode someone dies. It's really morbid and really macabre and really dark, and so I thought it's like coming into a band, right? Like there was already this picture perfect show, season 1, and you just want to know where you fit, right? You're like, oh, I'd be really good at the percussion, at the triangle, like you just see what's there and you just want to add to it. So I thought, I think the best thing this character could be is just unapologetically bright and light, and I told this story before, but the hug for Ella was never written in the script, and it was the first day of shooting, and obviously I didn't know Tom, and it was our last take for his close-up, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in and hug him. I'm not going to tell him, and I made sure to tell the camera team to make sure he's in focus, and I said, I'm just going to do it. I don't know, and I just went in, obviously pre-COVID, no social distancing here. And I'm Latin. I have no space. Like I'm constantly invading people's private space. And I just went in there, and Tom was such a consummate professional. He just continued on with the scene, saying the lines, completely confused, and luckily that became such an integral part of her behavior. And so, you know, it was a fusion of Ellen Ochoa, and then just like Kevin said, your dorkiest, goofiest side that is so not cool. Just embracing that, and just being like, I'm a dork. What are you gonna
do? Excellent, thank you. How about you, DB?
Well, I'll bring the darkness back in.
Here we go.
For me, what was incredible about the character is when we meet him, he's one of the darkest SOBs I've ever had the privilege to play. And what I like is this idea of what we always imagine angels to be. And then this idea of what we imagine the devil to be. Tom and I have talked about this, and stereotypically, it's switched. So it's slightly disturbing. I can imagine for some people to think, look at this kind of like dark, powerful angel. And the way that I always saw him was, and the way that we talked about it in the beginning was, when God sent plagues to earth, when God was sending his wrath to earth, famine, God sent Amenadiel. He was the one that, you know, every time something tragic was happening on earth that was caused by God, it was his first son that was the one doing it. And so there was something really powerful about that. But for me, there was also something I saw as like really lonely. Here's a guy whose entire existence is really death, destruction, and that's all he knows. He doesn't know love. He doesn't know comfort. He doesn't know compassion. So it's been really interesting to kind of see him. The longer that he stays on Earth, the more humanity he seems to embrace, and it's changed him and softened him. This is, I would have to say, if it's not the most difficult character I've ever had to play, he's definitely one of them. Because every single season, he's a different person. Every season. So the writing for him has changed. I think ideas for him have changed. What he was initially supposed to be has changed. And it's been an interesting journey just watching him grow and embrace his humanity. But I don't know who inspired someone like him who's I don't know any kind of arrogant, superpowered gods. So it's been a little strange, the journey, but it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Finding this guy, being confused by this guy, thinking this guy's sense of humor is unbelievably dorky, but that's him. That's who he is. So it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride to try and figure out who he is and what motivates him and how he changes and grows.
Absolutely. And it's been a pleasure to watch. So thank you for that. Trisha, how about you?
Well, a little side note before that, Amy, when you were talking about Ella's hugs, it just gave me a flashback of this when Ella tries to hug Mom, and we're when I'm in heels, we're vastly different on the height scale. Amy coming into the hug, and Mom just goes, forehead, just stop. I love that moment. Anyway, it just made me giggle when you were talking about going in for hugs. Yeah, Mom was not having that. Sort of like DB said, I didn't have any reference or inspiration for Mom. I kind of just went into it, flying by the seat of my pants and really focusing more kind of in the second episode about how to ground this person. She's this being where she really is a fish out of water. I mean, she's at this point, there's hatred and towards humanity, but there's also revenge with her husband and pain and the love of her children, so trying to ground this, what could be just kind of too big a concept for me, little old me, to handle. So I didn't have like an inspiration of who the goddess is, and I just sort of went with it in terms of imagination. And I kind of sometimes work that way anyway. Like I do my own prep work a little bit, but then I really take in when I'm on set. So it can be really kind of terrifying the first time, especially if you haven't like auditioned or something where you've already gotten notes. So if you're coming into it where you haven't ever had, that type of a, conversation with the team, it can be kind of terrifying. So I remember my first day and coming out of that elevator, like I'm all cool. Everybody was like nice. I'm like, I think I know what I'm going to do with the second episode. All of a sudden the elevator doors shut and you're in there by yourself and they're rolling. And all of a sudden my heart starts pounding. I'm like, I don't know how to play goddess. Like, I just had a little bit of a freak out attack. And so the doors open and I kind of stumble out and Tom, I fall to the floor and Tom grabs me and he rips his pants. So that was like the first take or second take. And so I was like, okay, it kind of diffused the moment and gave me the giggles and we just went with it from there. But I didn't have an inspiration per se. I just kind of used imagination, I think.
That's all good. That's why it's called acting. So, Tom, bring us home.
Yeah, I think for me, because I was playing this character, there was some criminal mastermind and trying to show it. I found elements of like Humphrey Bogart from Casablanca, who kind of had all these plans but couldn't show what he was up to, along with a little bit of Kaiser Sose from Usual Suspects. And not to play either of those characters, but just get the idea that you can't show all your cards and you're sort of trying to stay ahead of everybody. So to me, that gave, and with the help of Joe explaining to me what was going to happen, I was able to try to stack those cards up.
Excellent.
I would also just add, because I haven't seen my buddy Tom in quite some time, that still to this day, everywhere I go, people talk about the fight scene between Amenadiel and that fight scene. So I just want to let you know that, brother, that people
couldn't have done it without you.
That fight scene.
That was fun. That stupid thing that was supposed to go through my chest, and it was like none of us thought it was working. It was like, but I'm glad it worked. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to add on that scene, all the female crew members were like, "Well, I think I have to be on set for that scene. You don't cover that person or that person." They're like, "No, I just think we should be there for professional."
Just that happens. So, Lucifer Fan Paraguay, thank you for that one. Hey, and a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to chat with our panelists like I am now or get a personalized autograph photo, please sign up at galaxycon.com. And I think we have time for one more question, so I'll ask Jude to roll us a good one. And this comes from Mary. If you had to make a deal with the devil, what would it be?
You come back as my character on Lucifer.
Absolutely.
I love you guys. I'd love to come back. I mean, I'm not. I mean, does that sound desperate? I'm not. I'm just.
No. No. You go back. Come back.
Come back, yes. Come back so I can kick your ass, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Leslie, what would your deal be?
Mine's deal with the devil. Gosh, probably this is gonna sound so corny, but it's like more, just whatever I could do just to like keep my family and my son safe during this like wild and crazy time. It's been, navigating this whole period of time as a parent, like making decisions for another human being's life. Like, it's kind of, for me at least, I've been like, okay, I want to make sure you're mentally fine during this time, but also like, am I doing what I have to do to keep you safe given the circumstance? So I would just say that I would put myself out there to make sure that they're okay.
Absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Kevin, how about you?
Same as Leslie.
Okay.
No, that's a great one. It's tough. Okay, so we have to make a deal with the devil. You said it all, man. I think, I think we're all have been put in a position now where we're really forced to think about what's important.
Yeah.
Right? Like we get so convoluted and so distracted by everything that was important. And it was for its moment in time that you have to be here at this time and you have to do that and you have to go here and you have to put this, but now we're in a position where we can reevaluate things. And I think I can speak for a lot of the people, at least the ones that surround me as friends and colleagues and family members. That right now, I think a big portion of people are really starting to focus on. Remember that the one true fucking thing that's important is your family and is your friend and the ones that you create. So I think it's a great answer, Leslie, and I'm gonna steal it.
All is fair. Amy, how about you?
I agree. I don't know how I think it's just the people you love are safe, and healthy. And I don't know, obviously you always want to leave the world better than you found it in whatever way you can do that. But in the end, health and mortality is the one thing that binds us all. It doesn't matter how attractive you are, how rich you are, how, well-traveled you are, everybody's going to die. And so I feel like, I guess my deal would be that, everyone I love be safe, but also people just realize that time is the most valuable thing we have and to not just throw it away. Someone gives you $1,000, you wouldn't just rip it up, but someone gives you 1,000 minutes. It's the only thing you can't make more of. So I just hope that people, spend that time with their kids, their family, their loved ones, because every day we close to dying. So it's like, just live it up, be grateful, enjoy it, and focus on what really matters.
Absolutely. Well spoken. DB, how about you?
You guys are so filled with light and positivity. It's absolutely beautiful. It really touches my heart. It really does. I want to see Donald Trump on the portrait stage burn and rot under the hot sun. Happy Saturday.
How'd that rug feel?
Happy Saturday. That would be the deal I would make with the devil. So I will now disappear again, and
thanks for having the night.
People can fill the space with some more positivity and light.
But here's the thing: keeping our family safe means inadvertently that person needs to get the effect. So
there we go.
It's all tied in.
Trisha, how about you?
Basically, I'll just compound exactly what everybody else said, including DB. Extend that as well to kindness towards animals. But if I was to choose something completely selfish, I would make a deal with the devil to have not to redo my back, my spine, so I don't have such a tough spine. I wouldn't mind living in a little less pain sometimes. I'd have him redo give me a better spine.
Absolutely not bad at all. For me, if I could sing like Freddie Mercury, then I'd sign on the dotted line. Galaxy God viewers, this has been the Cast of Lucifer, and that was our time, but it does not have to be yours. If you'd like to chat with our guests or get a personalized autograph photo, please